Just to f with you.
All right, perfect. All right. Hey, gamers, this is Liz Davidson.
You can't start talking while I got this going.
I absolutely can, and I will. Welcome
okay, look at Mike being an idiot. What else is new?
How many videos have we been idiots all together, Mike?
No, you're
so
right,
welcome to the third installment of our People's Choice Top 200 solo commentary. This is games 1 through 50, so we're in the tippity top of the list now, and I'm again here with my 3 amazing panelists. So we have Derek. Derek, why don't you introduce yourself really quick?
Sure. In case if no one has, well, you should go and watch the previous videos. But anyway, I'm Derek from Solo BG Podcast. And yeah, you can check for the podcast if you would like solo games and cooperative games like we all do.
All right. And then Marceline.
If you're skipping the previous 2 episodes to this one, you're probably me. You're probably asleep, tuckered in your bed. And I'm telling you, wake up. Wake up. It's time to wake up because we got a top 50 to go on and do. Let's go. Okay. I am a freelance game designer, and I'm most known for the game Oceans, the solo design for Oceans, as well as most recently my solo designs for Trekking the World 2nd edition and Trekking the National Parks 3rd edition, which just came out in Target. So you should go buy it in Target and play my solo mode.
Hell yeah. And then Mike.
Hey, I'm Mike. I am most known in the fan variant solo community for designing the most popular fan solo variants for Tyrants of the Underdark, Exceed fighting game system, Radlands, and what's another one that's actually popular? I don't know. That's Undaunted Normandy. There you go. I designed some pretty good fan variants for those. I do nothing else. I'm not from any other medium.
Yeah,
no, you have never seen.
You're just the Radlands guy.
I am the Radlands guy. Yeah. I wish any company would pay me ever once to design an official solo variant for one of the things. I just do it all for the fun of it.
And you're just a fan of some game called Flame and Fang.
That's right. Hey, number 484 on the ranking this year. We're going to talk about the top 50, so it's almost there, baby. Just a few more spots. Just a few hundreds and hundreds of spots. Flame and Fang, 484. Here we go.
I am going to say I actually like Flame and Fang. I think it's a good game. So
No, I like it.
What it's worth.
I think it's great.
I really appreciate, since this is now Flame and Fang time, I just wanted to say I really appreciate like the Keyforge style like mana system. I think that's super, super cool.
Thank you. That was Peter was the lead designer on that one, and that was the first mechanical idea that popped into his head. He's like, dragons, but it's Keyforge. And I was like, all right, we'll figure that out somehow.
All right, so this is probably the least exciting part of the list. So let's just go ahead and talk about the first couple games.
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
What could number 1 be?
In a shocking upset, number 1 is Spirit Island.
Wait, hold on. That's what I wanted. Hold on, I got a fun idea, okay? We're going to name the top 10, and for each one, I want a thumbs up, it's diagonal,
sure.
and down, okay? We all ready?
Okay.
Here we go.
All right.
All right, it's going to be count of 3, okay? So number 1 is Spirit Island. 1, 2, 3. Wait, I thought you said boo, Marceline.
No, that was a joke. That was a joke.
Okay,
it's okay. I don't hate it. But I don't.
The boos were mostly like
Liz,
we
for
all
number 1
it.
to be here, you hate it. I think you're.
I don't hate it. I just don't love it.
All right, number 2.
Spirit Island is in fact amazing. It's just we hate to see it always at number 1. We want to see some shake up.
That might be it. I'm bitter about that.
I don't disagree with that. All right, number 2 is Mage Knight. 1, 2, 3. Oh, geez, I'm the most negative here. Sorry. It's just hard.
I haven't played it, but I just love the idea of just like this.
Wait, what do you mean you haven't played it? You can't give a thumbs up when you haven't played it.
You're telling me to rate things that I've never played, or I'm assuming moving on.
I guess
so
I
have to say that I'm excited to give this game a try, and therefore it's a thumbs up from me.
Right.
Yeah,
that's good.
Expansion's coming soon. It's time.
Yeah, Apocalypse Dragon. Let's go. I want to play that. Although
you have to
the
play
idea,
it to know that it's great,
Well, but hold on, Derek. The one thing I'm not sure about yet, Mage Knight campaign. Mage Knight is already like a 2 to 3 hour game for me. Campaign Mage Knight? I don't know what it's gonna be, man.
Absolutely. Where's your soul,
You're just
Mike?
there for it no matter what.
We're here.
Mhm,
You're
yeah,
like 50 hours of Mage Knight. Let's do it. I don't care.
It's because you also gonna come to the question like, if you're in an island, like lost for many years in that island, and you can take 3 games with you, which ones will be like? It's the classic question, right? Like, so if I'm gonna be stranded on an island for 3 years, and I need to play games because there's nothing else to do, well, Mage Knight campaign will do it fantastically for me. So
I wonder
See,
how many
I'm
calories are within Mage Knight. Like, how long can you subsist on Mage Knight?
No, you both are wrong. You both think of the wrong thing. I'm bringing the biggest chip theory game I can because of the waterproof neoprene.
Waterproof.
I'm gonna staple together
Good
a
point.
boat and escape the island on my like Cloud Spire board.
All right. So let's have a look
We're
at
going off the rails.
number
All right.
3.
Number 3, Marvel Champions. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Derek! Whoa! Okay, talk us through it. Talk us through it.
Oh
buddy.
my goodness.
Where did the Marvel Champions hurt you?
hear me very deeply, but when it came out, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And the first couple expansions, boom, 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 and then it went like this, bam, 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 and that was just like that for a while, and then suddenly, I mean, I found it somewhat repetitive. I know people are gonna kill me for this. I know I'm gonna get a lot of haters, and to be fair, the bias is like I'm not a fan at all of the Marvel IP, so that really put it aside for me. And yeah, I mean, I know you're gonna mention another game very soon that I'm gonna say double thumbs up that I prefer way more, mechanically speaking, and theme and immersion and everything versus Marvel Champions. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's just me personally, I wouldn't put it on the top 10.
You put a thumbs down. I think you did say it's a bad game. By the way, Derek, I'll note. You know what else goes? Do, woo! A roller coaster, and those are exciting.
Yeah, well, I mean, but come on. But then you can.
That's we're here.
On those ones, you can go again like this, and it's.
No, that's a good point. I guess you do need to go back up at some point.
yeah. All right.
Oh
my goodness. All right. Let's look at number 4. So everybody, Arkham Horror, the card game. 1, 2, 3.
Derek. Bah!
Yeah, we know.
I
Mike
have
likes
not
it.
played this one, but clearly I need to play it.
It fights for my number 1 game of all time with Exceed. So yeah, it's awesome. I just played it. I got the new campaign, so I played it like 14 times in the last week. It's on my mind.
Fantastic. All right. So number 5, Too Many Bones. 1, 2, 3.
Y'all are making me feel like such a faker. Like I haven't played a lot of the top 10 actually.
We're not making you feel like faker. The top 200 voters are making you feel like a faker. That's nothing to do with us.
This is a community problem.
Yeah.
I love Too Many Bones. Although I have to tell you, I
Yeah.
can't wait to see where Elder Scrolls lands in this list next year because it's freaking amazing.
I
It's
like
so
Elder
good.
Scrolls better than Too Many Bones. That's a definite.
I think I might too. And
Although Too Many Bones is
love
lovely.
Too Many Bones.
For Elder Scrolls, because I actually really love the Elder Scrolls series. Definitely felt like extremely deep into Skyrim just as I was getting into college. So I'm really, really excited to give that one a try. I have not yet seen or played it. I just know that I'm going to love it.
You
Now,
will love
listen-
it.
Listen,
Derek?
Mike, I have a question. So, is it basically just a re-implementation of Too Many Bones, or is different enough?
It's very different. It has a lot of the same DNA. Like you can tell that they came from the same studio.
Okay.
And there's some borrowed concepts, but I would say that the character building, the way skills are done, it feels very, very different to me.
I would disagree. I think it's like 80% the same game, except for like the adventuring, and I think it's just mostly better. The big thing, Derek, I will say, Too Many Bones wins out for 2 things. The gear locks are more unique and varied, and if you just want to sit down and play a game in like 90 minutes and be done, Too Many Bones offers that, and Elder Scrolls does not. Besides that, I think Elder Scrolls is better in basically every way.
For me, Too Many Bones is defined by the gear locks, which is I think why Elder Scrolls feels so different to me. Because in Elder Scrolls, you build your character out in a manner you're choosing, whereas in Too Many Bones, you're figuring out the build you like the best within the confines of a gear lock. I would say that's the big thing.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Lord of the Rings, the card game. All
Ooh,
right.
baby.
Yeah. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, Derek loves it.
Oh, see, Derek, I thought you were going to double thumbs Arkham with me, but I didn't realize you were talking about Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings is a game that made me a solo gamer, so wax poetic about it, Derek.
Like when we talk about, why I didn't like Marvel Champions, which I know they're different enough, but whatever. And if you put them side by side with Lord of the Rings, and especially right now with what they did very smart about releasing the trilogy of the movies that we all grew up watching, and that they're very well done. It's one of those few cinematography experience where you compare to the books, and of course, always the books are going to be better, right? But it's one of these few. At least that's my perception, that they're very good, both of them, and the movies are very well done, and the soundtrack and the everything, the cast, the everything, and you translate into the card game, which is already a very good, solid system and a very fantastic system where you can develop your characters in your own unique way. I think it's great, and plus the narrative, everything is perfect. It's a masterpiece. So if you're gonna put me to compare that versus Marvel Champion, I'm sorry, Marvel Champions, like you're going to the trash, because this bad boy comes and takes everything. So I'm so happy to see it in the top 10 for sure.
Everyone rewind 5 minutes of time where Derek's like, I'm not saying Marvel Champions is bad. I'm just throwing it in the trash.
If you put me side by side with Lord of the Rings, that's what I'm
By the way, I do rank Derek. I'm with you. I rank Marvel Champions as maybe. Well, actually, I don't know. I might put Lord of the Rings as lowest of the three like cooperative ones for me, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Lord of the Rings than Arkham than Marvel person, so I like them all. But yeah, if I could only have one,
I have a take that I think is worth sharing. So I haven't played any of these games, but I don't generally like playing deck building games because of the deck building part. I prefer to have like a pre-generated deck, or to have like, here's a couple of things, shuffle them together.
Yeah.
Which of these three games would you recommend for somebody like me?
I think
Marvel.
The easiest one for pre-cons is Marvel by a pretty wide margin.
Yeah.
And then Arkham, and I would say Lord of the Rings requires deck building for success, probably the most heavily of the three.
Yeah, like I actually bought it because I was trying to recover from my Magic the Gathering addiction, and I wanted deck construction without having to hunt through a bunch of booster packs, and like that was the attraction of Lord of the Rings for me. So that's
Marvel except for like a few like Thor and Hulk and a few heroes that are like known to be kind of terrible out of the box. Most of them you can just like take a hero with their starting deck, play most scenarios on the regular difficulty, and have a good time.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say is, with Earthborn Rangers being a deck building game, I think that kind of thing might work more for a player like me, because you're crafting your character through play, right?
Yes.
Something more like Dominion, where you don't have to know meta knowledge in order to get into the game. You sort of just can play in figuring out what are the constraints of your deck as you're playing it, and then kind of like building, loosening the constraints given whatever the situation is.
Well, in Earthborn Rangers, if you play through like the little prelude, they kind of like walk you through constructing your deck. And then you honestly only add like one or new cards to it every like couple of sessions. Like it's very, for better or worse, it's like very slow progression of like upgrading and changing the cards in your deck. All right, but hey, number 7, this is the only game that's new to the top 10. Woo! Up 5 places. What is it, Liz?
All right, we got Final Girl. What do we think about it? 3, 2, 1, go.
I should have done this just to see how people will hate me.
No, it's fine.
That's
this is another one I have not played.
I'm kidding.
But I love. I didn't put thumb up because I just haven't played it. But I do love how thematic this game is, and it uses dice, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Love those.
I used to be really into like dice based solo games since like Deep Space D6.
hmm
That was like my first solo game, I think. And there just came a point when I was just like tired of rolling dice. I'm just sitting alone rolling dice. So so yeah, I think there's something about, and this kind of goes back to my feelings about buttons and bugs too, where it feels like sometimes when things have, and I don't think that this is necessarily a problem for Final Girl, but when things have gated content, when it's just like roll a die and something might happen, it just feels like I may as well rewind time back to the point when I did not fail the roll. Whereas I think what's going on well for Final Girl is that it's meant to be this almost like roguelike experience of like replaying the same event, seeing what happens, matching them up with different Final Girls. I think that's super cool, and what makes it, I think, a really interesting experience for a dice game.
Mike
I
and I have
love
had two
I
great
love
placements
losing
together.
the game in Final Girl. I think that's like the biggest compliment I can give it. Like Final Girl's a
Okay.
game where I'll roll the dice, I'll die horribly. My boyfriend will get mangled by like Jason in like a woodshed, and then like I'll follow a cat by accident and I'll get attacked and I'll die horribly, and it's hilarious and it tells a great story. And yeah, and it always has a special place in my heart because Liz and I, the first time I ever played it was a solo together game with Liz at was that PAX?
It was
Liz?
PAX. Yeah, we did it. We've done it twice now. We had a great time both times.
Yeah.
Remember, we had to sacrifice the cat to kill the alien.
Hey man,
It's tough times.
we airlocked him, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was great.
but see,
Yeah.
like that's the magic of Final Girl, right? Like you have like a memory, almost like you actually were there.
I think one important thing about Final Girl though, like I mean, the game is just great, and the theme definitely like right on my cup of tea. Like definitely, we all know like a nice re-implementation of hostage negotiator. But I think what is interesting, at least for me, for Final Girl, is not something about the game itself, mechanic wise or theme. It also has that nostalgic feeling of like I don't know during which years everyone grew up, but I grew up in the late 80s, 90s, and one of my dearest memories is going to Blockbuster or rental stores and get those VHS, and that was for the nights when my parents were going out or something. We got pizza or on the weekends or whatever. So this game brings me back to those times in a way where like I can go to the game store if I didn't did the crowdfunding with the whole thing, which funny enough it came I think with a VCR kind of like art on the box. But anyway, if you didn't purchase through the crowdfunding, you can go to a game store and get like sort of like a VHS little box, and it will be of course based on the most famous slasher slash horror pop culture films. Like you have Alien, you have Friday, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and so on and so forth. The list, it's unfinished, but that's one aspect that I really like, the nostalgic aspect of like, okay, I'm gonna go and buy my little movie, if you want to call it, like the box, and then you lay it out, and then you have a fun, very thematic, immersive horror story, right? So that's my favorite part. And from all the ones that I have played, definitely the one that I like, I don't know if the most, but I found it the most interesting because of the puzzling, which is weirdly enough because I'm not a very puzzling solo gamer. But the one about Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know if you remember that. You have, I believe, you have four
Yeah,
cards
you're
laid
right.
down or
Yeah,
something.
with
And, yeah, yeah, and then
the
Freddy starts to pop in. So I think it was very cool and very clever how they designed that. So anyway, I wanted to put out there that it's very interesting to me how some aspect that is not necessarily about the game also is very attractive to me as a solo gamer. So
I'm curious what you guys think about the form factor. So I think it's super cool that like pretty much when you buy like the VHS tape, like everything in the VHS tape becomes part of the game. That's a super like cool like economic solution. But at the same time, when you want to like buy more of this, system, it suddenly takes up like multiple IKEA shelves. And that's a problem for me. And I think it's really cool, and I think maybe Final Girl, from what I've seen with this kind of solution, has probably had the best go of it. Like Paperback Adventures also tried to do it, and I don't think it's as like strong of
Yeah.
but of a release through that method. But something about Final Girl makes it work. Although for me, it's quite daunting to like get into the system after seeing like so many like seasons worth of boxes that are now available and having to comb through what are the best ones.
Yeah.
Now I know that the Nightmare on Elm Street one is really good. To me, it's like I would love to just hear people talk about what are the ones worth having. Get these ones. These ones are really good.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think also your own personal nostalgia is going to be a factor in that. Like for me, I would absolutely want to grab the Alien one.
The Alien one's
Mhm.
great. Yeah. But I will
But
say,
yeah.
so Final Girl, so actually, this is an issue that I have with a lot of games these days. I love Final Girl, but I get overwhelmed sometimes with how much there is of a game. And actually, that's been true for me with Aeon's End as well. Like, it used to be like tops for me, and it's actually dropped off in terms of games that I'm interested in, games I want to play, because it's like there's so many huge box expansions that I just can't take it anymore. And I feel like I'm so spoiled for choice that I no longer know what to do.
Yeah, I think a lot of games suffer from this problem. I have avoided it because the game I own the most content of any game is Root, and so I'm really glad that like I could still fit like everything of Root in one box, plus or minus some like roll mats that I like carry around with me. And so like I think the fact that you can stuff everything in the base box makes it a game that I'm not super overwhelmed by because I know that I could always make a decision of like what factions I want to play at game night. I don't have to
Yeah.
think about it like carrying multiple boxes with me somewhere. So for me, I would prefer to have like a single box solution similar to the gambler's chest. Is that what it's called? Where it's like everything is just like contained in one thing where I can see everything and it just seems to make more sense to me as somebody who like likes to own things but doesn't like to just feel like it's messy and just like kind of visually taking up a lot of clutter.
That's fair. All right, now that Mike's back, let's talk about number 8.
Sorry,
So,
I had a 9-year-old out of bed.
you know what? It's important. All right, so we got Dune Imperium. So 3, 2, 1, go.
Like, why do you hate it? Why do you hate it?
Well, I haven't played the new solo mode in whatever it was, Uprising, which is supposed to be better, I've heard.
Neither have I. I've only played the older one.
Yeah, but the older one, I found solo very like random. Things would just happen. Places would get blocked. I found it pretty frustrating. And also, I thought the deck building was kind of anemic in the game. So yeah, I covered Arnak and Dune Imperium around the same time, and I would play Lost Ruins of Arnak 9 out of 10 opportunities, and Dune maybe once. I did not enjoy it that much.
I like Dune multiplayer a lot.
Yes, I like it. I'm only talking about solo here. I think multiplayer with like the backstabbing and like second guessing yourself and fighting over the area control. I think it's a lot more interesting.
Well,
But
I think Mike. I think I totally disagree with you. I think you're totally wrong because you're missing the point, man. Like you put that game, you have the setup for your solo mode of Dune Imperium with all the expansions, and you're ready to conquer Arrakis. And then you play the Hans Zimmer soundtrack in the background from the movie Dune, and you let yourself go, and you're already in the movie, man, and you're doing all this crazy stuff. Now, I have to say that I played the solo mode once again with all the expansions, and it works fantastic. One thing that I would like to hear your opinions though, and this is like a parenthesis when we talk about this game. It actually, I don't know if I should use the word bother, but what they did with Dune, it kind of like, I don't know how to feel about it. When you release a game like Dune Imperium, you create expansions for it. So people buy the expansions and all that stuff, you get invested on it. And then a little bit after that, hey guys, here is Dune Uprising, which is very similar. It's not the same, very similar, so you can own both, but it includes the expansions that you previously purchased for the first version that we did. So I don't know how to feel about those things, when some companies do that. I don't know what are you guys' thoughts on that? Like, because I know I'm not the only one here complaining about situations like this, right? Which is like, well, I already invest all the money and time and everything on this product, but now you're bringing this, kind of like better version of the game, and you say that it's different enough, so in that way you can buy both of them. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
As a Hoplomachus Victorum lover, I've just learned to accept that it is my fate.
It was very shortly after what it feels like very shortly after the previous release. So I think that it was a strange lateral move, especially because a lot of people seem to be like, it's good, it is better. And it just feels like it maybe should have tried to release itself as like a more distinct, separate thing. But that's also the issue with like calling something a second edition or just like trying to make a lateral move where you're trying to improve a thing. But the problem is they already kind of sank themselves pretty deep with like the digital version, like the Direwolf version. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have, if I was in their position, made that move, but they made their move and a lot of people think it's improved. So I guess it was worth it, you know?
Hey, they get to sell you the game again, so they certainly think it's a great business decision.
Right. I think
That's
this
what it
is
all
the-
comes down to. You know, you could get into like the design aspect and whether it's a better game, whether it's an improvement or not. But in the end, they get to sell an entire new game with a very small amount of design time invested compared to making an entire actual new product with entirely new mechanics. So they are very happy about it, regardless of how you feel.
I think 20% improvement is almost like not enough to have like bothered. But I guess for them, they just, you know, figured out that it is worth it for them and they know that Dune is really hot. I don't know if it's still as hot as when it originally had come out, but you know, I don't know. It's interesting because Underdog also recently came out with their second edition game, which is like totally different from Trekking the World. Um, and in that case, I could totally understand why people might feel the same way, where it's like a second edition, but I have my first edition. Is that worse? And it's like, well, it's just a different thing. It's like basically a different game. So I think it's just the problem of how you communicate a lateral move. Like, what does it mean? For the product, for the original product. You're not going to sell that original product anymore, or are you going to sell it? Like, I don't think Dune Imperium, the original version, is still being produced. Is that true?
I think it is.
It is? It
I'm
is
not
being
sure
like,
now.
they are two separate products that they're going to continue to move forward with?
Well, remember, this is the company who made Clank, Clank in Space, Clank Legacy, Clank Catacombs, all of which are different games that basically use the same mechanics but have slight differences and are sometimes cross-compatible but sometimes not cross-compatible, and also have a Clank app now that you can play the game online with. So I think they're quite happy having a lot of versions of the same game and making money. By the way, Clank Catacombs, by far my favorite version of Clank. That's the latest one. So I did buy the one that is the latest and I like it a lot, but at the same time I could be like, yeah, I see what you're doing. Direwolf, I get it.
Oh my god. All right, so in order to get out of the sand before it turns into quicksand, let's look at number 9, Imperium Classics. All right, what do we think about this one? 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
No big lovers here.
Wow.
For me, it's
Yeah.
just kind of
Earnestly,
fiddly
yeah.
and not. I mean, it's got great ideas. I don't actually want to play it all the time. How about that?
Yeah, I'm very interested in the Star Trek version because what they have said about it is that it plays a little faster, it plays a little smoother, and scoring is drastically faster. I don't know if any of that is true, but all those things are things that I did not like at all about the Imperium series, and I liked less as I played it more. So if all those things are true, I'm really excited. And I also like Star Trek a lot. Not that I don't. I also like historic civilizations and, you know, alien civilizations, but I like Star Trek a lot.
I'm willing to find out, I guess. But yeah, this one, it's just not a game that I love. It's something that I respect, but not something that I feel excited to pull off the shelf.
I feel like to me, it's like one of those things that feels like anytime I would want to play it, I have to ask myself if I would rather play something that is like way lighter. And I feel like the answer for me is usually that.
Mm.
Yeah, and for me, it's like I'm with Liz. Sure, like meh. That's it.
All right, and then how about number 10 then on this list? Ark Nova. So 3, 2, 1, go.
Whoa.
Ooh. I think that the solo is not as good as the multiplayer. I don't
Oh,
really...
crud. Wait, we're doing solo, right? Never mind.
Solo.
Change me to like that. Never mind.
Yeah.
I love Ark Nova multiplayer. My fault.
This is a solo list. We've been doing this for 2 hours. We're trying to...
Lots of things have happened, Marceline.
We've been through a lot this evening, okay? But this is just one of those solo modes. It's actually, I dislike it for the same reason I don't love the Terraforming Mars solo mode. It's just kind of there. It's a way to kind of soloify a game that's just really great multiplayer that people are going to want to play solo because they want it, in my opinion.
When also
It was interesting.
Yeah.
I think the implementation I thought was really elegant for what is otherwise like a monstrous game.
And by the way, Liz just mentioned the game that got kicked out of the top 10 by Final Girls Ascent, which is Terraforming Mars, dropped 6 spots from number 9 to number 15. And I'm 100% okay with that, especially since the new version is using all these AI art things and such.
Terraforming Mars is a big down for me. I think that the solo design is really smart, but I just don't really like the base game.
I do like the base game, but man, it inspired a lot of games that I like way more. And there are like so many like Euro tablet.
Right.
I mean, Ark Nova being one. I would much rather play Ark Nova than Terraforming Mars, just as an example. All right. Yeah, let's get out of the top 10. What do you want to talk about, Liz?
Yeah, so okay, so clearly we weren't all super enthusiastic about everything in the top 10. So what in the top 50 are you super enthusiastic to see? I'm gonna flag. I freaking love Pax Mirror Second Edition. That's one of my top 10 games. Love it. I am super happy to see 3 different theory games. 4, because 20 Strong's in here too. Although grouping them all together is a little funny because they are quite different from each other, the 20 Strongs. But I'm super happy to see Too Many Bones, Hopplemarcus, Cloud Spire, and 20 Strong all up here. I love Sprawlopolis. And actually, I'm just gonna call out. I'm delighted that It's a Wonderful World is in here because it's one of those games that, like, I don't know why I like it so much, but oh god, do I!
Yeah, it's fun to play. Hey, I like that as a tableau builder better than Terraforming Mars too.
Shots fired. But yeah, I'd rather play that one.
I think Sleeping Gods is a game that I just love so much. It is. I haven't yet played the sequel game because I've just been playing the first game so many times.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's the kind of game that has, and from what I hear, it has like more replayability maybe in a single playthrough versus the sequel because the timer aspect is different.
Yes,
I haven't played the sequel. I don't really know much about it.
You're
I'm
right.
just really excited about it.
If you use they published veteran rules that are like ways to make it tougher and make the time pressure stronger. If you don't use those and just play rules as written, you can explore almost the entire world because you just accelerate so much by the end. It's kind of a letdown. I think the original one ended up being slightly better balanced than the rest.
Yeah, I just think that Sleeping Gods is just easily in my top like 5 of all time games. There's so much content. And so much of it so that even if you repeat content, you might not remember it. At least that has been the case for me. I just think it's super fun. It is like Breath of the Wild as a board game for me. Mm. I love the exploration. I feel like Liz wants to say how much she hates it.
I can't stand Sleeping Gods, but that's why, right? We have a community top list.
Yeah. I just think that having a big exploration map that is you can fit it in your tiny New York City apartment. That's amazing. And yeah, at least until the card sprawl starts to happen.
Oh my god. That's one part that got a little better with the new version. You don't have 9 characters and 8 million. You do have 8 million cards. But you don't have to have them all out with tokens on them. You can just like have them in your hand.
I would highly recommend people play Sleeping Gods, and if not, you play Primeval Peril exactly one time.
Primeval Peril is great. I love that one. Yeah, for a single one-off play, it's a really nice Sleeping Gods hit. I like that a lot.
You don't need to play a second time. Don't. It'll just kill the magic. Just play one time and you'll have a great time. You'll probably be like, oh yeah, there's other things you could do. just don't even worry about
Yeah.
that. Just, you had an experience. Enjoy that.
It reminds me of the I don't know if y'all play these, but it reminds me of like the Inherent Lie and the Telltale video games, like the Choose Your Own Adventure Telltale. We were like, oh my gosh, it could have gone a million different ways. And you play it again, you're like, oh man, they railroaded me like 89% of the time here, didn't they?
Yeah.
Right. I think that's what
Nah, we're
it's
good.
like with Sleeping Gods. I just think it's crazy how there's just no guardrails. There are just no guardrails. You could just go in literally any direction.
Yep.
It's like the classic Skyrim, like see that mountain, you can go there. And I just love the game so much for that. I haven't even touched the expansion content, and I've owned this game for years. I've been playing this game for years. I've had enough experience with the game that I could just not play the expansion content and then have a whole campaign that is just expansion content. Like, that's amazing. Anyway, play that game. Liz is wrong. Play that game.
Derek, what are some of your favorites from the top 50?
We can't all be perfect. My taste is.
I mean, where to start? But actually, on the last video, I spoiled one sort of.
That's right.
Number 50. This War of Mine, the board game. I'm so happy to see it there because once again, very immersive, thematic, way better than Frostpunk. I think maybe the idea of Frostpunk, even if it was based on a video game, when it comes to the board game mechanic-wise, probably they took some inspiration from this War of Mine. However, this War of Mine is more like streamlined. It has this weird mechanic when you play it cooperatively, like that you have a journal and you read the journal, you do some actions because we all manage the same survivors, and then you pass the journal to the player on your left and so on and so forth. But once you play solo, of course, you get rid of that aspect and just go through your journal by yourself. It basically is describing how a round works. And then once you play it a few rounds, you get the feel of it and you don't have to read the journal again. So I'm very happy to see it. It's very dear to my heart to see one game that I just once again recently got the crowdfunding all in for it, which is not a new game at all, but it's Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Island. It's still a game that I still play, and I can play the same basic scenario, which is basically trying to get the fire going on in that way the boat can see you in the last 3 rounds and they can save you, and you can yell Wilson like in the movie. So this is a game that I still really adore and like a lot. What else? I mean, you have there's another one that I saw that I was happy to see. Oh, most recent. Let me see because I lost it. Here is Slay the Spire, the board game, right? I don't know if you guys had a chance to play it.
It was so expensive, I didn't get it. Do I need to spend the money?
I think you do.
No.
If you can,
I think you do. I think you do.
I think you don't have to. So my take on Slay the Spire, the board game, is if you're going to play solo, just play the digital game. If you're going to play multiplayer, it is really fun multiplayer.
Well,
you can play it solo too, but you should play it multiplayer if you're going to play it physically.
I agree with you, Marcelo, in the aspect that if it's basically like a $150 towards $200 game versus a $10 app, yes, for sure. Right, and you're right. Like the app is fantastic, and it's gonna give you that feeling of the deck building and fighting different monsters. However, that was my concept too. I purchased the game at Gen Con. They had a bundle that you can get the Kickstarter and everything. It was around 200, I think it was. So I bought it, and I had that similar thought where it's like like cooperative is gonna work great, and it did work fantastic. Then I played it solo, and I was concerned about the collaboration between players and decks, and like try to get that synergy, between different characters to defeat monsters. How they're gonna do it to mitigate that when you're playing solo, right? And they actually did a very elegant, I guess, system, if you want to call it, where they give you a card. Every round you're gonna roll a die to see which enemies are gonna activate. But that same 8 card that you get for the solo mode, it's gonna be based on the dice result that you roll, also for the enemies, and it's gonna kind of give you a boost. So in that way you have that same rewarding feeling like if someone was collaborating with you as far as like ability goes. So I think they did a good job on that to mitigate that loss of collaboration, I guess, if you want to call it that way. So me personally, I think it's worth it. I think the product is fantastic. I think it's very well done. Also, they thought about everything with the sleeves, and it's very satisfying as you go through the game to upgrade cards and just like unsleeve it, flip it, sleeve it, and now you get an upgrade card, right? And then when you're going through treasures and stuff, like you get new cards that once again you can they already sleep more than likely, so you're just going to add it to your deck. So I really like it. I think from deck buildings in general, in most recent times, this is probably my top. When taking away Lord of the Rings, of course, but I mean deck building like fun adventure, like epic and nothing like crazy or chaotic to start to play because literally like you just grab the decks and you're ready to play. I really like it. I really like it. Marceline, you're right. Like it's basically the exact same thing as the video game, but there's a reason why we all play board games, right? Like we like the tactile, we like to feel on the table. So answering your question, Liz, in my opinion, yes, you should spend the money. But that's me. I really love Slade Spire, and I'm so happy to see it on the top 50.
I'm very happy to see it here too, and I totally agree with Marceline. Liz, don't buy it. The app is better for solo play. I played the board game a few times. I was like, oh, so in the time it took me to do one run, I could have done like 4 runs on Slay the Spire, and they would have had more cards available. I wouldn't have been as limited as I am in the board game version, and my relics would have worked better because I don't really like the way the relics work in the board game adaptation. But if you play it multiplayer, it's the best. My kids and I had so much friggin' fun with Slay the Spire Cooperative. And actually, the one thing I'll say, if you want to play it solo, that the board game lets you do that's awesome, is two-handing. It's a little bit hectic, but that gets really interesting because you get the kind of combos between characters. But no, Liz, don't buy it. It's too expensive. I let Peter buy it, and I play his copy.
There we go.
Yeah, I get someone else to buy it.
That's it's the oldest trick in the book. It works great. So I also want to say I'm super happy to see Obsession on here. I don't play Obsession solo that much, but I have played over 200 two-player games of Obsession on Board Game Arena. So I have like a couple play partners, and we just play and play and play.
Wow.
If you want to play Obsession, hit me up.
Can we play this game at PAX? Because I've never played.
Obsession is great.
Obsession is amazing. Yes,
I've never played this game. This is definitely one I like tried to read a little bit of, and I'm like, I just need someone else to teach me. I'm usually really good at teaching myself, but this was one of those that I'm like, I feel like somebody else loves this game more than me, and I would love to play from their teach.
I can gladly spread the gospel of Obsession.
Here, I'll mention 3 favorites that no one else has mentioned yet. For Northwood, great solo trick-taking game. I mean, it's not entirely a trick-taker in the usual sense of the term, but it's just an awesome card game. I love it. Really cute art, too. Warp's Edge, maybe my favorite bag-building game. So much fun, just for, a quick, combat hit with tons of variety in the ships and, bosses and stuff. And then, oh my gosh, one of my top maybe 5 games of all time, Bullet. I'm so happy to see this stay in. It actually went up from 50 to 49. And they just released, I kickstarted it, Paw and Palette, 8 new characters. They're so freaking good. Just the creative, crazy ideas they have. And every character is also a boss you can play against in solo. So it's just insane variety and asymmetry and things to try out. Man, I love Bullet.
Yeah, Bullet is genuinely such a good. It's crazy I'm saying this about a game in the top, what are we at? Top 50. But I think this game is underrated.
Yes.
It's really good. It's really, really good. It's one of the few games I feel like that has a timer element that is just you don't even think about the timer. It just feels like Tetris. It just feels like Puzzle League. It feels like, Tetris. What is the whatever? I'm thinking about Pokemon Puzzle League. But it's just it's such a good system, and has all of the things that you love about Spirit Island and Root, where you have these asymmetric factions, but built into the system where you can just and where one side of the guy is, a good guy who plays them, and the other side is the boss. And I think that is so smart. That is so smart. Yeah.
All right, so it sounds like we're all very thrilled about this list, but in the interest of time, I want to ask a couple of kind of concluding questions. So first, do you feel that this is a worthy top 50 that is representative of the solo community? I'm gonna say yeah. This is a bangers.
I'll say yeah, except I'll agree with you, Liz, that as someone who loves historical and war games, they seem pretty absent from this list.
Yes.
And I think some of the greatest solo games of all time should maybe be on here.
Yes.
But besides that, yes. Fabulous top 50 list.
If you're not playing historical, you're missing out. And I will point out that if you enjoy Nemo's War, Dawn of the Zeds, or Pax Pamir 2nd Edition, you are secretly a historical gamer and you don't know it yet, and you need to go explore that part of yourself further because you're gonna like what you find.
I'll say the same, but for like pure puzzle games, like Turing Machine not being in the top 50, I think is so sad. I think Turing Machine is genuinely such a clever puzzle, but yeah, it's, I'm just noticing there's not really a lot of like deduction or puzzle centric games in the top 50. So that is something. Maybe Bullet is like the one leading charge of like what a puzzle game is. Maybe Cartographers.
Maybe
Sprawlopolis, actually.
Okay. They exist, but I feel like I would like to see more games that are more like puzzly. I guess we have Orchard as well. There are games here, but what about Turing Machine?
I feel it. Derek, what do you think?
I think it represents great like what the solo community is been playing the most and what they like. Like you have fantastic games too. They're like Heat, right? Like we didn't talk about Heat, but when it comes to racing games with the solo mode, either official or a fan variant, I don't think there's anything better than Heat. Like Heat is by far, in my opinion, the best solo fast racing with an elegant automa that works great, that almost takes no time between your turns, that it's out there. You also have epic games like Cthulhu That May Die, right? Like they keep releasing seasons and more crowdfunding, and now there's a famous Godzilla somewhere that is crazy expensive to get. So, but everyone loves Cthulhu That May Die. I call it's like almost like rock and roll. Like you start to play the game and you either die or kill him, and it's just great. You get games like Hoplomachus Victorum, as you were mentioning, classic games like Eldritch Horror, that they're still there. So I think this represents very well, whether I like some games or not, this represents very well what the solo community, likes and is playing. Like you have from Chip Theory 20 Strongs, which is, in my opinion, also very fun to play. Tower Defense, the production is fantastic, small box, it's great. You have Sight, which is one of my favorite games. You have Friday, of course, which is the small box, fantastic solo game as well. So I think yes, I'm very happy with this list actually.
Yeah. Although it is bittersweet for me to see Friday fall so far. Like I understand why, but this is another one of those ones that was like originally a top 10er. And so it's very interesting, I guess, year on year. Like it feels like not much changes year to year, right? But that if you look over like a wider span of time, so much has changed.
Oh, we didn't mention, but I think it's a fabulous design. Too big for me to get to my table often, but Voidfall jumped 87 spots to 24th, which is pretty crazy. I haven't played it.
Voidfall Solo?
Voidfall Solo is really well done, and I'll probably never play it again.
I think that's the problem. It's like a good solo game is one that gets played, and one that gets played like a lot. That's what's great about solo playing. Like, I was hearing about someone who played one of my designs 10 times in a week, and I was like, that's amazing that you get to play that game 10 times in a week. That's time that you would have otherwise not played a game. So that's why solo gaming is super important for games, and also why people who play solo games tend to be like the most hardcore players of games. We play games so much. And I do think that this list is representative of like the whole gamut. It seems like really, 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 really well crafted by the community here. And I will say, even though it's lame to see Spirit Island stay there for years, I think that it is genuinely such an amazing game. I think it is in my top 2 games personally of all time. So it's not a surprise at all to see it be first again this year.
All right. And then sort of on a closing note, I see a lot of people say, what is my first solo game? What should it be? I want to try a solo game. And then people direct them to this list. If someone asked you that question, what game on this list would you direct them to play? Because I got to tell you, I would not tell a new solo gamer to immediately go purchase Mage Knight, even though I think it's the best. So what would we recommend, I think, officially as ambassadors of this part of the hobby.
Should we all agree to something, to one?
No, just
Because that would be
tell.
a bloodbath.
No. Everybody should suggest one.
Sure.
I guess my answer will be based also in the type of person, right? Like if you like sports or something, I will go with
Yeah.
Heat. If you
Yeah.
like horror, I mean, Eldritch Horror, it's a classic, but it's a very, easy to learn system that is going to take you hours, but, like playthrough wise, but it will be
Yeah.
fun. Now, if it's someone that I know that, they're like, look, man, like I have played board games like here and there. I don't know, like King of Tokyo, that type of things, but I'm trying to jump into the next level and I want a solo experience where I can have a lot of fun. I can think about it. I can be immersed in the game and have just a very epic experience. I think I will go, going to the basics and classics. I probably will go with Robinson Crusoe.
I think that I'm going to take this question as if I'm talking to somebody who is not yet a hardcore gamer, but has played some games like Azul, Cascadia. I'm not going to suggest Cascadia because I don't like that it's a beat your own score solo. So I'm going to suggest to that kind of player to play That's Pretty Clever, or which is also beat your own score, or A Gentle Rain would probably be my number one to suggest. It is super lightweight in terms of rules. You could literally just give it to somebody and they can really just figure out the rules through play, in a sense. It's a very chill game, calm game. And if someone, the way I like to convert people into the realm of solo gaming is to convince them that they are already a solo gamer by being like, hey, you play apps on your phone, right? You do Sudoku puzzles, right? Well, Gentle Rain is kind of like doing a Sudoku, and they might bite it, So I think that my pick for this question would be A Gentle Rain. Even though it's not in the top 50, I do think that A Gentle Rain would fulfill the GOAT, like, share this solo game with somebody and see if they like playing a game alone.
Yeah, actually, on that vein, so actually, I think Derek, your answer is great. Like when people ask me what solo game should I play, I'm like, well, what do you already have that has a solo mode? And like, let me tell you which of this has a good one. Or like, what cooperative game do you have already? Like, you could just play it by yourself. Like, that's usually the best answer. But I think if it's somebody who's like kind of feeling their way and they're not sure if they have the attention span or the desire to play by themselves yet, maybe what I recommend is something like either Orchard for somebody who I think wants something very light and quick, or Sprawlopolis for somebody who wants to sit there and crunch for a while, just to test out, do I have the patience to sit here and do this by myself, or do I need human interaction? Because I think that, a lot of people will play any of these chonker games with like their friends, but that doesn't mean that they want to do it by themselves, and you have to see if you have the appetite for that.
Sprawlopolis is definitely a good call out for that. It can be played as casually or as competitively as you'd like. And I think that's one of the reasons why it is such a strong solo game.
For me, this is sort of a one that's based on personal experience, and this would be like if I was talking to more of a thematic but like quick, fun solo thing. I might say Warp's Edge, specifically because when I was getting my 11-year-old at the time, or maybe he was 10 at actually the time. Like we had played a lot of cooperative games together. We played a lot of competitive games. I sat him down with Warp's Edge. I played through a first game where we kind of like discussed the moves together. And then I was like, all right, go ahead. And I just left him and he played it like 3 more times on his own, just like trying out different like ships and things, and was like good to go. So I think it's a quick enough, like exciting, dynamic enough game that for some types of people, like again, not every gamer is going to jive with it, but for some type of people, I think it's like a nice one to just kind of play once with them and then be like, all right, have fun. And they'll, probably have a good time just kind of experimenting with it.
I always felt like Warp's Edge has the same appeal as, like I mentioned earlier, Deep Space D6 was my first solo game I ever tried. And I think Warp's Edge actually has a very similar kind of vibe, except a little less random.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a really good call out.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so this brings us to the close of a commentary year. Another one, a good one. I really appreciate y'all were here to do this with me. Do y'all have any final thoughts before we kind of clear out?
What number is Flamin' Fag again?
484. Let's keep going, and let's get Ocean Solo up there too.
Yeah, play Ocean Solo.
and Night Witches whenever that comes out from Liz and David Thompson.
Yes, we're waiting on Ian O'Toole. You can't rush genius. Derek, any last thoughts?
No, just it was a blast, and it was sorry for all the Marvel champions supporters and lovers out there. I'm so sorry, but I hope you guys enjoyed this, and it was very fun, and I like I said, enjoy reviewing all these fantastic games with amazing people like all of you, and yeah, super happy, and hopefully we'll do it again.
I very much hope so. I guess my closing thought is always that it's just so much fun to touch base about solo games with y'all and have this panel and look at what our part of the hobby is up to. And I want to emphasize, I really think that the solo gaming corner of board gaming is really the best. We do things like this because we love it. Thanks to Kevin Erskine, who turned a labor of love into something that's just been so enduring for so long, and that it's taken on a new life, but it's still here. And I just really appreciate that we all get to be part of this, even if I have to look at Sleeping Gods being so high up this list. I'm joking.
God list.
No, seriously though, y'all are great. Both y'all in the video and y'all out there. So please, comment, participate, vote in this next year, and happy gaming, everybody.